What if I told you there are 3 sacred things a wise woman, especially one chosen by God, should never ever reveal? Not to her closest friend, not to the man she loves, not even to her own family, because the moment she gives them voice is the moment she risks surrendering the most sacred parts of who she is. In a world obsessed with exposure, where everyone rushes to share, post, and disclose every fragment of their lives, the woman of God is called to a higher, quieter path. A path marked not by public declarations, but by holy discretion. There's a strength that doesn't scream at whispers, a power that isn't found in talking, but in holding back. In silence, she finds her sword. You see, silence isn't weakness. It's not passive. It's a fortress. It's where discernment grows, where dreams take root, where God's voice is clearest. In this noisy age of oversharing, silence might be the boldest, most radical thing a woman of faith can choose. If you are one of those women, if your heart beats for the things of God, then I invite you to step into a new kind of strength. Strength of silence. Because there are 3 things a woman must always hide, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. The first is her dreams and visions. These are not mere ideas. They are the divine blueprints of your destiny, sacred seeds entrusted to your care by the Creator Himself. And just like seeds, they require the right conditions to grow, hidden, nourished, protected. Imagine this. You're holding the rarest seed in the world. Seed that, if planted properly, will bloom into a flower so unique the world has never seen anything like it. Would you toss it into the open air, on rocky ground, beneath a scorching sun? No. You would bury it deep, water it quietly, shield it lovingly. You would protect it from trampling feet, from critical eyes, from the careless hands of those who don't understand its worth. Your dreams are that seed. And when you share them too soon with people who are spiritually immature, skeptical, or even envious, you risk losing them. Not because the dream is weak, but because the environment is harsh. I remember a young woman once. Her eyes gleamed with passion. She had a dream to build a refuge for broken women, a sacred space for healing. She was so excited she shared it with everyone she met, friends, strangers, family. But instead of encouragement, she received laughter, doubt, even subtle sabotage. Slowly, that bright flame dimmed. Her faith began to waver. Not because her dream was wrong, but because she unveiled it too soon. Don't make the same mistake. Instead, plant your dream in the quiet soil of your soul. Water it with prayer. Nurture it with focus. Let it grow roots in solitude. Because what God has entrusted to you is not common. It is holy. Even the mighty oak doesn't boast as it grows. It doesn't demand applause. It rises silently year after year until one day it towers unshakable. Your dream deserves the same dignity. Let it grow in the hidden place, away from the noise of doubt and the wind of negativity. Let it grow where only you and God can tend to it, because dreams announced too soon often die from exposure. The second thing a woman must learn to keep hidden is her pain. Not because pain is shameful, but because it is sacred. Not every hurt needs an audience. Not every wound should be displayed. Some aches are whispers between you and the one who formed your soul. Only God knows the depth, the layers, the lessons buried within your tears. When you expose your wounds to people who are spiritually immature, you're not just sharing your hurt, you're inviting others to define your identity by your suffering. And when they don't understand your pain, they'll respond with pity instead of compassion, with advice instead of prayer. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Your heart isn't just emotion. It holds memory, desire, faith, disappointment. It holds the battles you've survived and the hopes you still dare to believe in. It deserves protection. When a woman learns to shield her heart, not hide it in fear, but guard it in wisdom, she steps into healing. She stops giving people the power to label her pain. She allows God to be her only interpreter, because in silence, God works. In stillness, He restores. Secrecy, He strengthens. And the healing that happens in private is often the most profound. Some seasons in your life aren't meant to be shared. They are prayers, not posts. They are psalms, not stories. They are the sacred ground where God shapes you for the next chapter. Finally, the third thing a woman must keep to herself, even from those she trusts most, is the internal matters. Of her household, there is wisdom and discretion. When you speak about marital struggles, conflicts with your children, or financial hardships with people who lack spiritual maturity, you risk more than judgment, you risk the spiritual covering. Of your home, your family is your first ministry. It is sacred ground. The details of your household are not for casual conversation, but for prayerful intercession. A wise woman doesn't broadcast every storm in her home. She builds a shelter through prayer, through humility, through faith. She doesn't seek sympathy. Seeks God's intervention. Because when we expose the cracks in our foundation to the wrong people, we invite confusion, gossip, and even spiritual attack. But when we take those burdens to the one who sees behind every closed door, we find wisdom, peace, and solutions. Remember this, even Mary, the mother of Jesus, treasured things in her heart. She didn't explain everything. She didn't defend. Herself she pondered, she prayed, she trusted. You don't have to prove your pain. You don't have to announce your dreams. You don't have to explain your family's struggles. God knows. And when you walk in silence before Him, you walk in a strength the world can't understand. So, dear woman of God, may you hide what is holy. May you guard what is sacred. May you protect what is still growing. Let your silence speak. Let your discretion shine. Let your hidden strength testify to the wisdom, power, presence of the one who walks with you. Even in the quiet, you were not made to be loud to be heard. You were made to be holy. You were made to be His. And sometimes the most powerful message you'll ever carry is the one you never speak aloud. Let's continue with the third sacred thing a woman must guard, the intimate affairs of her household. We've seen how silence can shield your dreams and sanctify your pain, but now we turn to the sanctuary of your home, the most delicate and spiritually vulnerable place of all. When a woman begins to share the personal matters of her family without spiritual maturity or discernment, she does more than just open up. She unintentionally exposes her home to the enemy. Gossip, judgment, and division slip through those cracks like smoke through a broken window. And in today's culture, where airing every detail of one's life is not only accepted, but applauded, the silence of a wise woman becomes a rare and powerful shield. Her discretion becomes armor and not weakness. Proverbs 17:9 says, "Whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends." True love, especially the kind that protects a home, does not parade its hurts, its conflicts, or its burdens for public consumption. It covers them in prayer. It shelters them in trust. It chooses to heal quietly rather than broadcast loudly. Think of the Shunammite woman in 2 Kings chapter 4. Her son collapsed in the field and died suddenly. She didn't panic. She didn't cry out to her servants or run to the neighbors in hysteria. Instead, she laid the lifeless child on the prophet Elisha's bed, shut the door behind her, and quietly prepared for a journey of faith. When her husband asked where she was going, she replied simply, "It is well." Imagine the strength that took. A mother who had just experienced unimaginable loss chose silence not because she didn't feel, but because she understood that some things are too holy for public processing. Holy matters belong in holy hands. And through that calm, quiet faith, God honored her trust and brought her son back to life. That is how a woman of God is called to respond, not broadcasting her grief to the world, not inviting every voice into the intimate circle of her home, carrying her family in quiet prayer and wisdom and unwavering faith. And if you ever need someone to talk to, choose carefully. Choose a companion whose prayer life is stronger than their opinions. Choose a heart that listens with heaven's ears, not human judgment. Because your family doesn't need exposure, it needs healing. And often, that healing begins when you decide to stay silent before the world so God can speak and move behind the scenes. The heart of a woman is not meant to be a diary for public reading. It's a sacred hymn meant to be sung only in places of holiness and deep trust. Inside that heart is a world unseen, unspoken dreams, invisible wounds, whispered prayers only God hears. And not everyone is worthy to listen to that melody. Not everyone has the ears tuned to its depth, nor the heart wide enough to hold it without dropping it. Today the world praises boldness as the highest form of courage. But not every truth needs to be told. Not every question deserves an answer. There are things in your soul that become more valuable when you choose to keep them. Because in God's kingdom, timely silence is not only wisdom, it is bravery. Proverbs 4:23 reminds us again, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. A heart left unguarded becomes an easy battlefield. Judgment marches in, scrutiny follows. Manipulation finds its way. But a heart that's shielded by wisdom becomes a temple steady, serene, unshakable where the peace of God dwells. Do not let the culture of oversharing trick you into thinking that constant openness is strength. Not every story you tell brings freedom. Sometimes it's silence that sets you free. Sometimes silence is the only weapon powerful enough to protect the sanctuary within. Because when you pour your heart into hands unequipped to carry it, you don't just lose your privacy. You might risk your spiritual safety. Some people come into your life with kindness on the surface. Their hearts are not pure enough to touch what God is cultivating inside of you. Some listen not to understand, but to analyze. Some draw near not to walk with you, but to gather information. And if you're not discerning, you could hand your sacred pearls to someone who sees them as trinkets. A woman grounded in faith knows this, that not every confession brings compassion. Not every vulnerability invites love. So she guards what is hidden. Like a priest tending to a sacred flame in the inner chamber of the temple, she lets it burn only in the place God has appointed. Strength is not found in how many stories you tell. It is found in knowing which stories are meant for silence. Dignity is not in how many people admire you. It is in the quiet peace you carry. When you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to anyone, some parts of you are meant to be revealed through presence, not words. Through gentle grace, not loud declarations. Through actions rooted in love, not explanations, dressed in insecurity. You are not a public square where anyone can pass through. You are a hidden garden tended by the hands of God. He plants the dreams, He waters with His. And when the time is right, He brings the blossoms. What you protect in silence today will bloom in divine glory tomorrow. Don't rush the unveiling. Don't allow your heart to become open territory for careless feet. Guard it as you guard your salvation with discernment, reverence, holy self-love. Not every life will be remembered for grand gestures, but every great life begins with small, sacred decisions. And you, beloved daughter of God, are standing at the edge of something extraordinary, not because you have spilled everything out, but because you have learned the power of holding back what is most divine. Yes, the world calls you to reveal, but God calls you to discern. The world encourages you to speak, but heaven teaches that some treasures grow in silence. Every dream you've nurtured in secret, every tear you've hidden in worship, every family struggle you've covered in intercession, these are the invisible victories shaping you into a woman who cannot be shaken. You were not created to fade into the background. You were created to reflect His glory in a way no one else can. And in the sacred hush of your life, He is shaping you not through noise, but through divine stillness. So hold tight to what is holy. Cultivate what God is growing in you. And when the right season comes, you won't have to strive to be seen. You will shine naturally, effortlessly, as a living testimony of wisdom, honor, and grace. You are not merely existing for today. You are building a legacy. So walk in wisdom. Wear discretion like a royal garment. Let God be the one who listens, who carries, who vindicates. And one day, when heaven opens a door for you, not with a crowd, but with His hand alone, you will walk through. Not with noise, but with the holy silence of a woman who knows who she is and why she was created. If this message stirred something deep within you, Don't keep it to yourself. Share, subscribe, comment amen below to help spread the light of God to those who need hope. May you always walk in His boundless grace. Amen.